Pause. Okay, well, I'm really sorry about that. I don't quite know what happened, but these things do with technology, don't they? They just surprise us sometimes and just cut us off mid-speech, mid-lesson, but we just have to roll with the punches, hey. So this is live. This is just me carrying on from exactly where I left off in part one that you were watching just a moment ago before my computer decided to just close down and start up again. So I was just about to tell you some really interesting facts about Jane Austen to finish off the lesson. So consider this part of the lesson the plenary on the end, where I tell you some interesting facts, and you can decide whether or not you want to go away and read some Jane Austen novels yourself. So, number one, Jane Austen's novels were published anonymously. And they had to be published anonymously because, as I explained, it was not really acceptable for women to write and to certainly not to rely financially upon their writing. And so therefore, Jane Austen had to publish her work anonymously. Now, her first novel, she put the author's name as a lady. So she wasn't hiding the fact that she was a woman, but she wasn't giving away who she was. And then with her second novel, she put from the author of Sense and Sensibility. So again, saying that she was a woman, but not giving away her name. Now, her father, who home educated her for some of her education, was a great supporter of her writing, and he would frequently take her work to publishers and ask them to read it. And once he told them that it was his daughter, the work was often sent back and said, we don't want to read it. And in the end, himself and Jane Austen together paid for somebody to publish one of her pieces of work. But once they started getting published, they developed a lot of popularity, and then it was a lot easier for her to continue to get her work published. But it remained anonymously published for her short life. She actually began writing when she was only 12 years old. So that's my second interesting fact for you. She was only 12. And I know lots of you are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And you're at the age now where you might like to start writing, and you can be just like Jane Austen. You can become a published novelist, and you won't have to worry about what your gender is and whether that can prevent you from being a successful novelist. So, moving on. Fact number 3. This is one for the adults amongst you. Jane Austen brewed her own beer. Now, it was very common at the time. Everybody drank beer, but not everybody brewed their own beer. But Jane Austen did. So she was a multi-talented novelist. She used to brew her own spruce beer. Spruce, like the spruce tree, like a Christmas tree, and she would add molasses to give it a sweet taste, and it was very popular amongst her friends and family. So that's my interesting fact number 3 for you. So number 4, Jane Austen was no stranger to romance. So even though she did not marry and she focused on her writing, she did still have a few romances, and probably used some of those romances to help her write about love in the way that she did in her novels. Number 5. Number 5. Jane Austen dedicated a novel to somebody she hated. You might think that's odd because normally people dedicate novels to people they love or admire. Well, not Jane Austen. So it's a rather long, complicated story, and I urge you to go and Google it and look it up. But Emma was actually dedicated to the Prince Regent. Now, the reason that you can look up the backstory, but the reason she dedicated Emma to him was because he tried to force her to dedicate a book to him. So she decided she would go along with what he wanted her to do, but she wrote a story that would be quite scathing about Prince Regent. So you might even need to look up the story of Emma yourself to find out a bit more about that story. And my final interesting fact about Jane Austen is a rather sad one. She died at the very young age of 41. So she accomplished an awful lot in her very short life. And sadly, she just died of a disease called Addison's disease, which affects how your hormones and cells develop in your body. And it's commonly known that that is the reason she died at such a young age. But of course, once she died, it gave way for her to become posthumously successful. And today, she is the well-known, popular, adored novelist that we all know. And of course, as I said, a feminist icon. Play. So I hope you enjoyed finding out a little bit about Jane Austen today. Hopefully it sparked some interest, so you might go away and read some of her novels or find out more about her online. And I'm going to leave you with a rather interesting quote, if I can find it. The person, be it gentleman or lady, who has not pleasure in a good novel must be intolerably stupid. She had a sense of humour too. Okay, have a lovely afternoon, and I'll see you tomorrow for my lesson on Benjamin Zephaniah. It's going to be a fantastic one. Don't forget to join me at 1 o'clock. And I'll see you this evening for Chapter and Verse at 6:30 p.m. here on YouTube. Bye.